You finally do the responsible thing. You bump your 401k from 3% to 10%. You set up a $300 auto pay to a high yield savings account, and you pay an extra $200 on the credit card because you're sick of the balance haunting you. 6 weeks later, you feel poorer than you did when you were being reckless. Your checking account used to hover around $900 on payday week. Now it's scraping $120 by Thursday. You're not even buying dumb stuff, you're just tighter. You start doing that thing where you delay refilling a prescription by a few days because the timing is annoying. You turn down a friend's weekend trip, not because you can't afford the trip, but because you can't afford the cash flow hit right now. And you catch yourself thinking, I'm doing better, so why does it feel like I'm doing worse? Let's do some uncomfortable math. If your take-home pay is $4,400 a month, and you just redirected $300 to savings, $250 to retirement, and $200 extra to debt, that's $750 that used to be available. Not spent, available. That's 17% of your monthly cash flow disappearing on purpose. Of course it feels like something got taken from you. It did. Here's what nobody talks about. The moment you start climbing out, you lose the illusion that your lifestyle was working. When money was messy, you could always blame unexpected expenses. When money gets disciplined, the truth shows up. Your baseline life is expensive, your margin was fake, and your brain was using future you as a credit line. And then you hit the weird middle phase I call the progress penalty. Your old habits are gone, your new buffer isn't built yet, and every tiny expense feels like an emergency because there's no slack. You're not broke, you're rebuilding the part of your finances that makes you feel safe, and it's temporarily empty. But here's where it gets dangerous. This is the exact moment most people quit because it feels like the plan isn't working and they turn the auto pays off, swipe the card just this once, and accidentally reset the clock by 6 months. My name is Ben, and I spend way too much time thinking about money, psychology, and why your brain panics right before your finances improve. Hit like and subscribe. It helps me create more videos like this. Let me show you why this matters. Once you understand why it feels harder right before it gets better, you stop sabotaging the exact phase that finally makes you free. You finally start doing the right stuff, and somehow your life gets more annoying immediately. You cancel 2 subscriptions, you stop eating out as much, you clean up the leaks, and then a random Tuesday hits where your coworker suggests lunch and you're doing mental math like you're defusing a bomb because you've got $68 until payday and 3 bills scheduled to clear. Then you get that email. Your auto insurance renewal is up 18% and the payment jumps from $142 to $168. It's not a crisis number, but it lands in the exact 2-week window where you're also trying to build a buffer, so it feels like sabotage. You're not thinking, I'm improving. You're thinking, I can't even handle a $26 bump without sweating. Or you do the adult thing and set up sinking funds. $90 a month for car maintenance, $60 for gifts, $40 for annual fees. And now your checking account looks worse than it did when you were winging it. Because before, those expenses were surprises. Now they're scheduled. And scheduled feels like you're losing money on purpose. And here's the one that messes with your head. You make progress on debt or savings, and your credit card balance goes down, but your stress goes up. Because you used to float yourself with, I'll just put it on the card and deal with it later. When you stop doing that, you lose the illusion of flexibility. The plan is working, but it feels like your options got taken away. Here's what nobody talks about. The moment you stop using future you as a bailout fund, present you has to live on actual cash. And that transition is uncomfortable because you're seeing the real cost of your life in real time without the cushion of denial. But here's where things get interesting. This is usually the phase right before it gets dramatically better. Not because your income magically changes, but because your money stops lying to you. You go from everything is fine to, wow, I'm tight. And that honesty is what finally lets you build margin that's real. The first thing that changes is your timing. When you used to overspend and patch it with a card, your cash flow had a hidden bridge. Now you're rebuilding that bridge with savings, and during construction, the road is narrower. The same bills exist, the same life exists, Your ability to fake it is what disappeared. But here's where it gets dangerous. This is when you're most likely to think this isn't sustainable and turn the sinking funds off, pause the extra payments, and temporarily lean on the card again because it brings back that fake flexibility instantly. Let me show you why this matters. If you can recognize this specific middle phase as the progress penalty, not failure, you'll stop interpreting discomfort as a sign to quit, and you'll start treating it like the final stretch before your money actually feels easy. There's also something fascinating that happens when you stop using debt as a timing tool and start using cash on purpose. Your available money number gets smaller, even if your actual financial health is improving. Here's a concrete version. Let's say your take-home is $3,400 a month. Your fixed bills are $2,450. When you were floating things, you'd run your checking down to like $80 and tell yourself it's fine because the card could handle the rest. Now you decide to build a real buffer, so you set an automatic transfer of $300 to a separate savings account the day after payday. Nothing about your life got more expensive, but your checking is instantly $300 worse, and that makes you feel broke faster. This shift might seem small, but it has ripple effects. You start making decisions based on what's in checking instead of what's in your life. You hesitate on stuff you used to say yes to, not because you're poorer, but because you removed the illusion that money is available just because credit exists. Let's do some uncomfortable math. If you were typically carrying $1,800 on a card at 24% APR, that's roughly $36 a month in interest for the privilege of not feeling tight. When you stop relying on that float, you don't just lose flexibility, you lose that hidden monthly fee and the stress of balancing due dates, minimums, and timing. That's why it feels harder right before it gets better. You're paying with discomfort now, so you don't pay with interest later. Here's what nobody talks about. When you start doing this right, you create a temporary double payment season. You're paying for today while also catching up on yesterday. Example, you used to buy $600 of random life stuff throughout the month and toss it on the card, then pay it off over the next 2 months. Now, you're trying to pay the current $600 in cash while also sending $300 a month to erase the old balance. That's $900 leaving your monthly cash flow for a while, and it feels like your income dropped, even though it's actually your past spending showing up on the calendar. And your brain hates that because it destroys the "I'll deal with it later" button. I call this the flexibility mirage. The moment you remove the mirage, the same life suddenly looks unaffordable, even if you're finally moving towards stable. But here's where it gets dangerous. This is the exact moment you're tempted to just use the card this once, because it instantly widens the road again, and it also resets the whole timeline. Let me show you why this matters. If you can identify the double payment season and the flexibility mirage, you'll stop calling it failure and start treating it like a countdown. The month your old decisions stop taxing your current life is the month money starts feeling easy again. Here's something that might blow your mind. The money is tighter feeling right before things improve is often just math finally becoming honest. Let's do some uncomfortable math. Say your take-home pay is $3,900 a month. When you were using the card as a pressure valve, you were quietly running a monthly gap, maybe $250 to $400 without calling it a gap. You just called it a normal month. Now you decide to stop the float and clean it up. That gap doesn't disappear, it becomes a bill. If your real life costs $4,200 and your income is $3,900, that's a $300 shortfall. Before, it hid on the card. Now you have to solve it. Here's what nobody talks about. The first month you stop floating, your budget has to cover 3 things at the same time: this month's bills, this month's spending, and last month's illusion. Even if the card balance isn't huge, the cash flow squeeze is immediate. Run the timeline. If you've been overspending by $300 a month for 10 months, that's $3,000 of "not my problem today" that eventually becomes very much your problem. If you try to fix it over 12 months, that's $250 a month on top of your normal life. So your new reality is $4,200 of life plus $250 of cleanup equals $4,450. but your income is still $3,900. No wonder it feels impossible. You're not failing, you're seeing the real number. And the real kicker is the interest and fees you stop leaking once the balance is gone. Even a modest $2,500 balance at around 22% APR costs roughly $45 a month in interest early on. That's $540 a year that disappears when you finish. Not because you earned more, but because you stopped paying rent to the past. Practical application. During this double payment season, you don't need more discipline. You need a shorter list of commitments. If you can cut $120 from subscriptions, $90 from eating out at work, and $60 from random app purchases, that's $270. That almost covers the $250 cleanup payment, meaning you can keep your life stable while the old balance dies. Contrast this with the other path. Person A says, I'll just put $200 on the card this month to breathe. Person B says, I'm going to feel tight for 4 to 6 months and end the loop. Person A gets relief today and extends the timeline. Person B gets pain now and buys back future months. But perhaps the most significant change is this. Once the cleanup payment is gone, your budget suddenly has slack, and that's when money starts feeling easy in a way you can actually trust. Here's what nobody talks about. Right before money gets better, your life gets less flexible on purpose, and that's the sign it's working, not failing. The first thing that changes is you stop needing your next payday to fix your last 2 weeks. You hit a random Tuesday and your checking account isn't doing that thing where it drops to $19 and you start counting days. You've got, say, $600 sitting there that is not assigned to a bill that's already late. That sounds small, but it's the difference between I can't let anything happen and annoying things can happen and I'm still fine. The second change is your calendar stops being a financial horror movie. When you're in the tight phase, you're tracking due dates like landmines. Rent on the 1st, insurance on the 7th, phone on the 12th, and you're praying your paycheck hits before the autopay. When it gets better, you pay boring bills early, not ahead like a spreadsheet flex. Early, like I got paid Friday, so I knocked out the 7th and the 12th today and I'm done thinking about them. Let me show you why this matters. If your minimum bills are $2,300 a month and your take-home is $2,700, you've got $400 of real margin. In the hard phase, that $400 gets eaten by timing problems, overdraft risk, and oops purchases because you're mentally exhausted. In the better phase, that same $400 becomes an actual tool, $150 to a buffer, $150 to debt, $100 to irregular expenses you used to pretend didn't exist, like annual registrations, copays, or replacing a broken laptop charger without turning it into a crisis. The third change is you stop negotiating with yourself every time you open an app. You don't need to see what's left after you spend, you already decided. That reduces impulse spending in a way people underestimate, because the impulse was never about wanting the thing, it was about wanting relief. But here's where it gets dangerous. When it starts working, you'll feel the urge to reward yourself by bringing back payments you eliminated, a new car payment, a financed phone, a bunch of monthly memberships. That's how people recreate the squeeze right when the squeeze is ending. And the identity shift is real. You become the person who can say, no, I don't need that to be monthly, and mean it. Now, you might be thinking, okay, so when do I actually feel the relief? Good, because the next part is the exact moment the tightness flips into momentum. You might be thinking, cool story, but I can't afford the harder before better phase. I'm already at max tight. The good news is, you don't have to leap to some perfect budget. You just need to create a tiny gap between when money arrives and when it leaves, because that gap is what turns panic into control. Here's what nobody talks about. The squeeze feels worse right before it gets better, because you're removing the hidden crutches at the same time you're building the real ones. So the practical path isn't save more, it's stop the timing problem. Start with one bill. Pick the one that causes the most anxiety because it hits at the worst time. Rent, daycare, minimums, whatever. Then split it into per paycheck rent, even if your landlord doesn't care. If rent is $1,600 and you get paid twice a month, Your new rule is $800 gets parked immediately, not if there's money left, immediately. The key is you're practicing separation. Money for bills stops living in the same place as money for life. Next, build a micro buffer that's boring on purpose. Set a target like $300, not because $300 changes your life, but because it changes your calendar. It keeps one bill from forcing a late fee, a transfer, or a scramble. Put it in a separate account or even a sub-savings bucket so it can't accidentally become weekend plans. Let's do some uncomfortable math. If you can redirect $12 a day, that's about $84 a week. In a month, that's roughly $360. That's your entire starter buffer in 30 days. If $12 a day sounds impossible, go weekly. $25 from two categories you already overspend in without noticing. Delivery once, ride shares twice, random app subscriptions you forgot. You're not cutting everything. You're buying time. The first two pay cycles are the hardest because you're funding the future while still paying for the present. But once you've got that $300 buffer, the next milestone comes easier. One full paycheck of cushion. If your take-home is $2,200 every 2 weeks, you don't need to save $2,200. You need to stack it in chunks, $150 per paycheck to the buffer, plus any extra from timing wins, like paying a bill early and avoiding a $35 fee. But here's where it gets dangerous. The moment you feel stable, you'll want to add a new monthly payment to prove you made it. Don't. Run a rule. Any new monthly commitment has to be matched by an equal automatic transfer to savings for 60 days first. Let me show you why this matters. When your buffer hits even one paycheck, money stops being an emergency and starts being a schedule. And that's the flip. You didn't become good with money. You became predictable. And predictable beats stressed every single time. So there you have it. Money feels harder right before it gets better because you're in the awkward middle where you've stopped using the old shortcuts, but the new safety net isn't fully built yet. Your numbers didn't suddenly get worse. You just turned the lights on and started paying for reality on purpose. Most people think the hardest part is making more or cutting more. They're wrong. The hardest part is tolerating that temporary squeeze without undoing it the moment you finally feel a little air. Here's what nobody talks about. When you build that one paycheck cushion, your brain immediately tries to spend it, not on dumb stuff, but on adult stuff. Upgrading your phone plan by $18, adding a $29 membership, saying yes to a $240 a month payment because it feels responsible. That's how people quietly recreate the same stress with nicer packaging. I call this the cushion mirage. You confuse not panicking today with I can afford a new monthly obligation. So if you're in that phase right now, checking your balance more than you want to admit, don't panic. Keep the buffer boring. Automate the transfer. And for the next 60 days, treat every new monthly like it has a cover charge. If you can't match it with the same amount into savings, you can't afford it yet. Because the win isn't feeling rich. The win is making your money boringly predictable. If this helped, subscribe. More videos like this coming.